The government has released the full draft of the curriculum for years 0 to 10 students, with Education Minister Erica Stanford calling it another significant step towards delivering a world-class system. But the changes have prompted widespread criticism, with maths and social science experts, arts specialists and PE teachers all raising serious concerns. Subject specialists who were originally involved in the rewrite say they don't recognise what has been released despite their names being attached to it. And some say they were shut out of the process after signing NDAs. Senior Correspondent Lisette Reymer reports.
The bell rings and a 7-year-old would be sitting down for lessons on the civilization of ancient Egypt, the Nile Valley, the Bronze Age civilization and the Iron Age. By year 5, they'd be learning about the Chinese dynasties. By year 8, they'd be across European imperial expansion. Head spinning? You're not the only one.
The number of hours that students will be getting and teachers will be getting to learn this stuff, I'm not sure how any students or any teachers are going to fit this into their year's learning.
History specialists, the latest to sound the alarm over the new curriculum.
Interesting topics seem to have been chosen, but overall the driving force of this seems to be a chronological narrative which ignores so many of the complexities of our history and global history.
Erica Stanford's classroom refresh failing to win favour with many who spend their days there.
We're expecting our year 1 children, so that's our 5-year-olds, to know that Theophrastus, circa 371 to 287 BC, described plant forms and structures, and his botanical texts were used for centuries as primary references. Have they met a 5-year-old?
This, if you're wondering, fits under the science umbrella.
Our 5-year-olds need to be exploring, they need to be playing, they need to be interacting with science. I'm not sure that Theophrastus is going to be high on our list of priorities.
It's not just a lot for students to learn, but also the primary school teachers who will now have to teach it.
It's impossible. It's unfair. Unless this process is paused, we're going to end up with an absolute disaster.
Already, in open letters to the government, the arts associations of dance, drama, music and visual arts have said they feel blindsided. Maths experts have expressed deep concern over damaging changes, and Physical Education New Zealand has also written to express its shock.
It's mind-blowing, Lisette, absolutely mind-blowing.
Dr. Susie Smith was part of the initial writing group recruited to look at New Zealand's PE curriculum.
Somewhere along the line, we're not sure, but somewhere along the line, we've been just shut out, I think. It feels like that. We cannot see our voice in this, and we cannot see our advice and guidance. People have been in this document that do not understand our subject area.
For example, all Year 8 students would have strict learning guidelines around athletics,
which requires fartlek training and baton exchange in relay. Now, this is archaic. We haven't taught explicitly around athletics for years. I'm not saying athletics is a bad context, but I have an 11-year-old son, and trying to get my 11-year-old son to understand fartlek training is just ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous.
When her advisory contract ended, she signed a non-disclosure agreement. Now she finds herself listed on the government's website as a contributor to a curriculum she doesn't recognise or believe in.
Many people haven't been able to talk to one another in this process, which has been frustrating, but it also has meant that now we have a very messy and incomplete and incorrect curriculum document.
You can't call consultation when the people on your advisory panels have non-disclosure agreements. That's not consultation.
The draft is now open for 6 months of consultation for feedback from teachers, principals and educators. The Education Minister can expect a torrent of it.
We're incredulous.
How much more feedback does the government need?
Well, a short time ago, I spoke to Education Minister Erica Stanford, who is in Sydney, and asked her to address the backlash over today's draft curriculum for years 0 to 10, particularly from the expert subject contributors.
Look, there are a number of experts and writers who are involved in this, in fact, hundreds over the course of the last year. So people were brought in, and then other people were brought in, and then review groups were brought in. And look, this is just what happens when you bring lots of people together to get all their ideas. Things shift and change. But here's the thing, we're out now for consultation for 6 months. So everybody gets to have their say, and we'll come back with a revised curriculum at the end of that period.
Okay, today you are dealing with some pretty strong feedback saying the new changes are, and I quote, insane, unrealistic, contain multiple errors, are impossible to implement. One principal says the sector has gone ballistic. This is a pretty damning response.
Look, it is a big change, and it's something we've not had before for a very long time. We've had a very vague, loose curriculum that hasn't had much detail in it. And we have shifted to a knowledge-rich curriculum with things like consent and New Zealand history alongside world history, geography. I mean, these are new areas we haven't had before, but we should have, because our kids deserve that knowledge, and they deserve to be learning what kids overseas are learning at the same level. So it is different, it's a change, but we had the same backlash when we introduced maths and English last year. And you know what? We got on with it, and now we're seeing the results.
Sure, but the problem that we have heard about in depth today is that the subject experts, they've done their work with the ministry. It's now been left with the Ministry of Education, and they're saying today that what they've seen is unrecognisable. So who has made those changes?
Look, I don't have anything to do with the curriculum writers or the experts that are chosen for this work. That's the ministry. But in the end, it's not about the writers or the ministry or the experts. It's about our kids. Have a look at the content. Kids are going to be learning world history like the Stone Age, kings and queens, the Egyptians, dynasties and revolutions. Amazing new content and material they should be learning, and that's what we should be focusing on. Not who wrote it and whose ego is a bit bruised, but what are our kids learning? And that's the exciting.
Sure. Yeah, sure, but their names are on the ministry's website as contributors, and they're not happy about what has been released today. So do you understand their unease about this?
As I said, there are lots and lots of people who have put their efforts in and helped to write this curriculum, and some of their material was used and some wasn't, and that is always the way with a new curriculum. But as I say, let's focus on the end product. It is different. We haven't had a knowledge-rich curriculum, but the reason that our results have gone backwards for the last 30 years is because we've not had detail. And now it means that no matter where you go to school, no matter what family you're from or your means or your circumstances, you have access to the same rich knowledge as every other child. And we are going to see our results head up for the first time in a long time, which is what we've seen over the last year.
Minister, why have the contributors that were involved with the rewriting of the curriculum been asked to sign non-disclosure agreements? Some of them are saying that it feels like an abuse of power.
No, it's just standard. I mean, the previous government did exactly the same thing, and I can see why they did it.
No, we're hearing that they haven't been asked to sign NDAs before. And it just seems interesting because I don't understand why any of this process about educating the country's children should be top secret.
Well, you will remember under the previous government, the science curriculum got leaked, for example, and it was an absolute debacle. Bits and pieces get leaked, people use it, and it's just not helpful. But we're out for consultation now with the new curriculum. So we've got 6 months. Everybody can have their say. We did put probably slightly too much material in, but we did that on purpose because if you don't put enough in, it's hard to go back the other way. So we're out for consultation now. What fits where? Is it the right amount of content? We can pull back on some areas, but what we want to do is hear from those experts and teachers and principals and even parents about what they want to see changed in the new curriculum, and we'll do that. You saw that with maths. We've just made some changes to maths as well.
Now, principals have already gone to you begging to slow down the rollout of the new curriculum. Do you think that it's time to pump the brakes?
We already did that. So when I became the minister, the entire curriculum was due to be released and ready for use in 2027. We've obviously spaced that out quite a lot. So we've got 2 years of just English and maths. Then in 2027, we've got another couple, and then another couple in 2028. So we've already pumped the brakes. We've listened to the sector like we always do and spread it out over 4 years. So that's already happened.